What is this world coming to?
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, February 9, 2012. Time for your Gitmo Nation Media Assassination Episode 381.
This is No Agenda.
Spending my days with Leviathan here at Camp Mofo in the capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody from Austin, Texas. I'm Adam Curry.
And plain and simple from northern Silicon Valley, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Hey, Stinger.
We're going to go right into your thing?
Yeah, it's going to take a while, but...
how long is it going to take?
I don't know, it depends. You might immediately go,
I might.
Uh-huh.
All right, we'll start.
That would be really unfortunate.
I'll start asking questions.
Okay. Well, what is one of the premises that we actually talked about this on 200.5, one of the premises of our view of the world. Yeah, there you go.
What?
Well, what do you mean?
You're asking me a question right off the bat? I thought you were going to start into a diatribe.
No, it's a question. I need to ease you into it.
I'm not going to answer this question.
It's all about oil. Isn't that what we've always said?
Oh, yeah, it's always about oil. Yeah, that's one of our many models.
Well,
and to take it to a further extreme, it's about everybody else's oil. We just want to keep ours and then break the world, and then we have all this oil, and we can be the number one dog on the block.
Right. So I think
is fine with me.
Yeah. I think we were a little bit distracted by the oil per se, because it really took me. And again, I've been working at this 18 hours a day for 3 days straight, and what I realized is it's no longer just about oil. Oil, of course, yeah, important, but what's going on? And I'll just give you a little taste. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't heard it. This is the only thing dominating the news in America today.
The shattering explosions come every few minutes in the besieged Syrian city of Homs. Residents say government troops are using rockets and heavy artillery in a bombardment that has gone on for days. As the shells fall, the slaughter mounts. Another 60 men and women and children were reported killed today, but residents say they cannot even count the dead anymore.
We can't even count the dead anymore. Now we talked on the last show, John. We talked about, why is this being hyped up about Syria? What is going on? There is so much incredible hype that there must be something happening. Did you pick up on anything? I mean, we've been waiting for this in the New York Times. Has anything happened with Syria?
Anything new?
Well, no. I mean, all of a sudden it seems like someone turned the on switch and pushed it towards 11 and said, We got it. Syria. It's all about Syria. Syria.
Well, I have a bunch of thoughts on this too, with a bunch of clips, but I'm more now interested in what you think you've dug up.
Okay.
I preface it with the word unnecessary.
So I'm going to tell you that this is not about oil. This is about gas, and it only really struck me when I started to gather a couple of maps. Now, John, get your browser ready because I'm going to give you a URL.
Okay, browser ready, boss.
Is your browser ready?
Browser's ready. It's up and ready. Should I be in the Google box or should I be in the URL box?
URL box. Put your cursor in the URL box.
All right, I'm ready.
Because once you load this, you only have like 20 seconds, and the rest of the listeners are going to go get it. It's going to crash the server. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Pipelines.curry.com. You got it? Pipelines.curry.com. Tell me when you have the page loaded.
Page is up.
Page is up. All right. So I have
picture you when you're 10.
Now scroll down a little. Yes, that's it. It's his fault. Okay, first, and people at home can play along with this. So I want to show you, these are not maps I created. These are ones I got from presentations. Don't scroll to the bottom. Just stay where you are, okay? You with me? All right.
Yeah.
So the first picture here shows the state of the gas. It says oil and gas, but it'll be about gas, and you'll find out why. So on the right here, you see all this Russian region. You see bits of Iraq and Iran, and you see that's the largest oil and gas sources of the world. And the largest market is Europe, right? That's the second largest market. Of course, we have other big markets, but that is a huge oil market, right? Gas market. And of course, the natural route of transit is through Turkey. going from, and a lot of this, if you go to the second one, you see these are all the pipelines. So we have the pipelines, we have the South Stream, the Blue Stream, and you'll see that a lot of this goes through the Ukraine, through Slovakia. They built the South Stream, which, this is interesting, which goes through Greece, and then from Greece it goes to Italy. And of course, Europe is highly dependent upon gas for a number of reasons. And gas became very important in this past year. The reason
gas has become also, we have to note, there's to back your thesis up here, the recent memes about the cold weather in Europe and people dropping dead is one of these things that makes people start to think about this.
Well, there's one other reason, which I didn't actually realize, but Japan has a huge demand now for natural gas. Why? Because they no longer have their nuclear facility. And the next option next to nuclear when it comes to what is the cleanest, what is the cheapest, and what is the easiest to deal with is natural gas. Now, you'll recall that right after Fukushima, Germany said, oh, that's it. We're shutting down all our nuclear plants. No more nukes. Yeah. So they need more gas to generate electricity. And that's just a side note, but something to bear in mind. So
First of all, before you continue, our basic premise in show 200.5 that it's always about the oil, it applies to gas.
It does, but there's something else that happened that we have probably forgotten that changed the entire picture and will explain everything. And I think it's a model we can apply to everything that's happening. Scroll down to the name
for this title for the show already.
Good. Scroll down.
The big T's.
Scroll down to the third map. Now, this is the Arab gas pipeline. And you'll see the Arab gas pipeline starts down there at Arish, right? This is where Egyptian gas was shipped into Arish, and then the pipeline goes all the way up, passing Israel on the right-hand side.
It actually bypasses
Israel, Damascus, up to Homs. Gee, where have I heard that name recently? Every 10 seconds on the news. Scroll down to the fourth map. What's interesting is the Arab gas pipeline only goes to Homs. It's not complete because the mission is to complete the final 230 kilometers into Turkey, known as the Syrian-Turkey pipeline. So what was happening is we had natural gas being shipped in, and this is in many ways competitive to all the Russian gas. You with me? Although the Russians are in on everyone's in on it, particularly Europe, and the Russians are also in on the Syrian Turkey pipeline. So this is the way that gas was flowing, and we're going to relate this back to Arab Spring in a moment. What happened on December 30th of 2010?
I don't know. You tell me, Adam.
We discussed it, but we didn't really think about what the true, and all this is in the show notes, by the way. We didn't think about the true parameters of what this meant. The Leviathan gas field was discovered. This is the largest discovery of gas in our century, and it's right off the coast of Israel, the northern coast of Israel, and it goes all the way basically to Cyprus. Oh boy, isn't that interesting? So all of a sudden, the entire dynamics changed. Israel, which has always had to import their gas, and they imported it, by the way, straight from Syria through that Arab pipeline, Israel now will become one of the largest suppliers of gas. Now, if all of a sudden we have this huge gas field sitting right there in the Mediterranean, and we have the biggest consumer being Europe, what is the most logical route? The most logical route is to go through Cyprus straight into Greece, bypassing that entire other chart that you saw, bypassing this entire deal that you've seen with the Arab pipeline, the Arab gas pipeline. So,
and Cyprus is owned by the Russians.
Cyprus is owned partially by the Russians. Cyprus is owned partially by Greece. Turkey is very pissed off about the whole Cyprus thing. But who do we see showing up in Cyprus? We see Hillary Clinton showing up. There's a company there called Noble Energy. And Noble Energy has very tight ties to the Bush family and the Clinton family because Israel got a little bit greedy and they said, hey, you know, those laws we had in 1951 about how if we ever had any kind of natural resources, we'd tax them really low. We're going to jack that up a little bit, if you don't mind. Just a little bit because, we can make some money here. And then Hillary Clinton immediately came out and said, hey, this is no good. And then she started working on something called the Law of the Seas. Remember that? The Law of the Seas, which determines the territory of each individual country and all the rest belongs to the UN or some other bullcrap like that.
Yeah, good.
Because who actually owns this? Well, Lebanon says it's theirs. Or at least part of it. Israel's like, no. This is the promised land, man. This is what Moses brought us here for. This is ours. Cyprus is saying, you know what? I think maybe it's ours, but we've got Noble Energy here, the Houston-based company. We'll work with you. No problem. We'll be your buddies. And we've seen a whole lot of really interesting things happen between Israel and Cyprus, but also Greece. Homs, of course, is really important because you want two things to happen. Gas is very cheap right now. So we can't just say, oh,
it's depressed, actually.
Right. We can't just say, oh, here's all this gas, because it won't even be worth it to export it. But if we can create some kind of scarcity, i.e., let's blow up some pipelines, right? And what happens in homes? The pipelines, it's getting blown up continuously. Oop, blown up. Now, 3 months after this discovery, 3 months, the Arab Spring starts. I'll remind you that Egypt was exporting their gas into the Arab pipeline, which bypasses Israel. Not only do we see the entire regime and the whole country destabilized, but their pipeline was blown up 4 times during that time. 4 times. Libya. Libya was exporting their natural gas to Italy straight into Europe. That stopped. When all of a sudden we had the Arab Spring and the Libyan no-fly zone, stopped. Done. No more natural gas was exported. They're trying to restart that, but they're not going to. Tunisia delivers natural gas to Italy via Algeria. So this has always been about the gas. Now let's check in on some of the elites and what they're doing. This is where it gets really, really crazy. I have a clip here. This is the new minister of energy for Greece. It just gets too funny. And he used to be the economic minister for Greece. And he was actually the Ministry of the Economy up until the crisis. And then all of a sudden he switched roles and he became the Minister of Gas. And why, you'll figure out in a second. So he goes to Jerusalem because the Greeks, of course, they want to have this deal. They want to have this gas coming in from this huge Israeli field to sell to Europe and basically shut everybody else out. So he goes to Israel and he does an interview with the Jerusalem Post. But the interviewer is like a 13-year-old girl. So he's really cavalier. He's just laying it all out there. And the things he says are outrageously amazing. Here's question 1 about exporting gas from Israel to Greece and then from Greece to Europe.
Only a few weeks following the formation of a Greek unity government, Environment, Energy and Climate Change Minister George Papakonstantinou is the first Greek official to visit Israel as a representative of the new coalition.
Is Greece considering importing Israeli natural gas?
There is at the moment a big discussions on how to bring to Europe gas from a number of areas outside Europe and diversify sources. The negotiations, for example, on bringing gas from the Caspian Sea are now going to come to a conclusion. We are trying to make Greece the hub for gas transit to northern European countries, either via Italy or through the Balkans. And in that context, the discussions with Israel are ongoing on the possibility to bring in also Israeli gas. And these have been discussed at a high level in the past between the two prime ministers and at the senior government level.
So this new prime minister in Greece is very interesting. The old guy, Papandreou, he actually was trying to do a deal with the Russians for the, let me get the name of it here, the pipeline, here it is, the Burgas Alexandroupolis, which would come from the Russians through Bulgaria into Greece. So this is why he had to go, because it's like, wait a minute, we got all this Israeli oil. We don't want that stupid pipeline. That's way too long. We can ship it right through Cyprus. We own half of that anyway. We can still work with the Russians. We can still put a deal together, but we're going to be the guys. So they bring in the new prime minister. And this prime minister is all over that.
The new Greek prime minister, as of November 11th, Lucas Papadimos, last week told Netanyahu that they're interested in strengthening relations with Israel. What do you think he meant by this exactly?
I have learned in politics to never interpret what the prime minister says. However, for the last few years, starting with the previous government, George Papandreou's government, there's been clearly a new page opened in the relationship between the two countries. And I think there have been many instances. There's been the visit, of course, that has happened to Greece, and a clear desire on both sides to move closer on a number of issues, political, economic, etc. So Prime Minister Papadimos is simply pushing that further, and he spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu a few days to reaffirm our willingness to keep a cooperation that is mutually beneficial.
Yeah, mutually beneficial. So all code words for, hell yeah, we're doing a deal with those guys. Are you kidding me? This is going to be great for us. One reminder once again about this guy, this Greek energy minister.
Konstantino also served as the Greek finance minister until summer of this year, and he talked about some of the causes of the economic issues facing Greece.
So he was a part of the collapse of Greece, and I believe that he was a true shill. Because what has been happening with Greece as they're trying to figure out their deals, it's not, this is where I made the mistake. I thought, it's all about the austerity measures. No. It's also about the privatization. Remember, we're talking about Greece selling everything off. So what is going to be privatized?
Well, obviously, this transit of natural gas is part of this privatization deal, so you don't have the government soaking up this what's going to be a bonanza and then passing it out to the public.
Right. So they're privatizing the airports. They're also privatizing the port in general. But they're also going to, I actually have the list here, concession of the ports and airports, Athens International, sale in the stake of the Public Gas Corporation.
Ah, there it is.
Also sale of the banks. Now, the gas corporation, the electrical corporation, is DEPA, D-E-P-A. The CEO of DEPA is a certain Mr. Harry Sakchinis. This just gets crazier. He was also group vice president of Standards & Poor's. So I think what's going on right before our very eyes is they're trying to delay as much as possible the Greek bailout, because it's not about the deals with the pensions. It's all about the sale of the state assets. This is exactly what happened in Russia, by the way. This is how you get the
Russia
oligarchs.
sold off all their really great assets to these oligarchs who now are billionaires overnight, largely because of this essentially taking what was in the public trust and instead of sharing it. I mean, we've seen the evidence of many stories we've talked about over the years about, where some government like Ecuador, for example, wants to take their oil reserves and not give all the money to Standard Oil or Texaco but to pass it to the public.
Right.
The way they kind of do in Kuwait and in the parts of the Middle East. They share the wealth with the public at large. I mean, California, for example, if we did that here, we'd all be rich.
So, yeah. So this is they actually, I have some of the articles speak of the new energy order, and Israel is and we use this for jet fuel. And by the way, wherever there's gas, there's usually oil. And this thing, it is, if you look at the Leviathan field, it is literally the mother lode. Who was the first company? Now remember, Noble Energy is key here. Noble Energy. A lot of ties to they're from Houston, so a lot of ties to Bush, but also to Clinton. Who was the first company to get the offshore drilling contracts when President Obama opened up the Gulf Coast? Noble Energy. They're the first ones. They're all in line. Clinton has been pressing Turkish officials to back off from threats to send warships to waters around Cyprus in a dispute over the energy deposits. She is completely protecting Cyprus, and this is not necessarily country against country. This is corporate warfare between different gas and oil companies, depending on who they're affiliated with, being fought with real guns against real people. So this whole Syria thing is not necessarily Russia who are trying to protect them, but it's factions within Russia who are most likely working with the Russian Cyprus faction, who are working with the Clintons and the Bushes on Noble Energy, who really just want to make sure that there's enough demand. So let's ratchet down the gas to Europe, and we've already seen that 30% less gas is being transported from what is the big Russian company? I have it here somewhere.
Yeah. Them.
It's too cold here. We can't send you enough. We have pipelines being blown up continuously. Well, who's doing the blowing up of the pipelines and why? Simple, because they need. It's a very short pipeline they've got to build between Cyprus and Greece, because they're not going to. It doesn't have to go from Israel. It's Cyprus to Greece, and Israel is now building. Military facilities in Cyprus. Here we go. It's all in the show notes at 381.nashownotes.com. And this destabilizing of Syria is probably, and that, now I'm just going into hypothesis mode, is probably our promise. And probably Clinton's, Hillary, Lucifer's promise, like, hey, don't worry about it, Israel. We're going to hook you up because we're all in on the back end of this. We're going to make sure that gas is not flowing from Homs up to Turkey. We're not going to have that happen. So this whole thing, everything, right back to the Arab Spring, this all started after this huge discovery of this gas, of this Leviathan, great name, by the way, Leviathan gas field.
Leviathan.
In Israel. And you can apply this to everything. Who's next on the list? Italy. And who do they put in there? Another shill. Goldman Sachs is in on this, by the way. It's like, I think it's a club of maybe a couple hundred people, and they're all in, they are completely in with the contracts. They know who's getting what, and they do not give a crap about people. But they are pushing this theater into, we're not going to invade Syria. There's no way. The Russians are going to take care of what they got to take care of. And it's probably the competing Russians who are working in Cyprus who also don't want to see this pipeline completed from Syria to Turkey. It becomes so incredibly clear you can almost relate anything we're seeing in the news back to this one thing, right down to Romney and Santorum and Gingrich, who are all sucking off Israel. They know where the money is at. They know it. Why is Israel so important? Well, now it actually is. It is important because it's trillions of dollars, perhaps. And they don't give a crap. They will kill anyone.
Well, for that kind of money, you would too. So there's this guy, Patrick Seal, who wrote a bunch of books about the Middle East, and he's an expert out of England, and he seemed to have a grip on this whole thing. And he saw the action in Syria as pretty much, although he never talks about this field or the oil, gas and oil aspect. He does have most of the players down, and he does see it as a battle between the United States and Israel, and
on the same team, obviously.
On the same team against the Russians and the Chiners.
Yes.
On the opposite
yes.
team, you kind of left the Chiners out.
No, the Chiners, of course. No, the Chiners.
But I want to play, as a break here, I want to play 2 clips from this guy. Both of them are a little long, but they're very interesting. And it turns out that it's very easy to do what you're describing, in other words, blowing up these pipelines, because the Muslim Brotherhood in Syria, which is another reason we can't get involved in this thing, because they're going to end up taking over the place if the civil war continues, and then we'd get blamed. Now we already let the Muslim Brotherhood pretty much take over Egypt.
And we want them to, John, because they're just going to muck it all up as long as it slows down the gas.
Right. So anyway, so they've got a built-in situation, and he explains the geopolitical part. This is called the Syria on is it Cyril?
Cyril.
Seal. It's actually his name, Seal. Seale. Seal on the Middle Eastern security, and he kind of discusses the players, so we have an overview. And by the way, when you listen to this, it's obvious that this is nothing we should get involved with. And if you watch these idiotic presentations, and by the way, there's one other element you've got to bring into this with this thesis: the British and British Petroleum and the MI6, who seem to be stirring up the pot on a lot of these things, and I would like to hear your take on that. Okay. But let's play this guy's take on what factions are at work playing in that area.
Disputes going on in the opposition. Some say we must cooperate with the Muslim Brothers, others say no. Some say we must seek external intervention, others say no. Some say we need a dialogue. I believe dialogue.
Are you playing the right one? Are you playing Seal on Middle East security, or are you playing what's really going on in Syria?
No, Seal on Middle East security is the one I'm playing.
Okay, well then go on. Play it.
You want me to play the other one?
No. Oh, wait, yeah, play the other one first. I'm sorry. That's the summaries.
What's really going on in Syria? That's the one you want
play
me to
that. Sorry.
You see, I think to understand what's happening, one has to see this as a concerted attack, assault on not only Syria but Iran as well. You see, Iran, Syria, and their ally Hezbollah in Lebanon, that trio, a sort of Tehran, Damascus, Hezbollah axis, has in recent years been the main obstacle to American and Israeli hegemony in the Middle East. And the attempt now is to bring that axis down. Of course, they're fighting back with their allies, with their friends, precisely like Russia and China. So that's what we're seeing on that level. Internally in Syria is a completely different struggle. Now, you see the main element in the opposition, the most powerful element in the Syrian National Council is the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, just the other day they celebrated the 30-year anniversary of the assault on Hama by Hafez al-Assad, the father of the present president. And in that struggle, at least 10,000 people were killed in the city of Hama. Now, we have to understand the background of that. Hama in 1982 was the climax of a terrorist campaign by the Muslim Brothers, which began in the late 70s to overthrow the Assad regime at that time. And they seized control, the insurgents seized control of Hama, butchered Ba'ath Party members and officials, and it was only at that stage that the regime moved in and crushed that insurgency and killed a lot of people, a lot of innocent people. Now, the specter of what happened then, 30 years ago, hangs over the present situation. And the Muslim Brothers, they've been outlawed for the last 30 years. They've suffered all sorts of problems at the hands of the regime, and they are thirsting for revenge. So that's why I'm saying it's kill or be killed. The present government feels that these are armed insurgents, and the mistake of the opposition was, in fact, to resort to arms.
Okay. Who is this guy? Who is this guy again? Where's he from? What does he do?
He's from Britain. He's a book writer. He's got a bunch of books on the Middle East. I think he's a security expert. Mm-hmm. And it seems as if that it didn't take much more than for somebody, I can't imagine who, to arm the Muslim Brotherhood. And, of course, we couldn't ever take credit for doing that because this is a group that really doesn't like us either. And just let all hell break loose right in that one area, like you said, where the pipeline ends. And now the pipeline is stuck there while they're trying to deal with this crap. And then, of course, the reporting on this is just dreadful. I was watching Anderson Cooper. I have a thing if you want to listen to this clip where he's got some guy named Daniel.
Oh, yeah.
There's no reporting on this.
It's Danny. It's Danny on Skype. Danny on Skype. No, I've seen this. This is fantastic.
This is a fraud.
Hold on a second. Which clip is it?
It should say Anderson Cooper somewhere.
No, I don't see any Anderson. That's weird.
I did it. O'Reilly nonsense writer, Maldives Prexy, idiotic comment, guns in school.
Did you forget to send it? Oh, that's too bad.
It's a plus. I do have it. Oh, no, it is right. The second from the top, bogus Syria report by Anderson Cooper.
Now this Pooper guy, this Danny guy, I saw him this morning on with the Morning Girl.
Before I play it, I want to set this up.
He's calling in regular reports.
This idiot is calling in. And by the way, there's a clip of him talking about some dead kid, and it's like.
But you never see the pic. You see the same picture of a guy with his heel bleeding.
He makes a mistake.
Oh, in this.
Danny, if you hear, it's very hard to hear him but he says, "Where's the U.S. when we need them?" But he meant UN. So he says, "Where's the U.S.? Where is the UN when we need them?" It's a very interesting flub, but.
I'm sorry.
But wait, a couple other things. I want to point out to people that in any armed conflict ever, there's always reporters who sneak behind the lines and give us at least written reports that are highly accurate. There's nothing coming out of this area.
Not a single thing.
Late word tonight on the slaughter that Bashar al-Assad and his security forces have unleashed in Syria. UN Security General...
By the way, just listen to the setup.
Oh, this is pathetic. This is pathetic reporting. There's no proof of anything going on. I mean, we do see some bombs going off here and there, but you can't just report like this if you don't know for sure.
I have some great clips that fit into this. We'll continue.
Ban Ki-moon calling the regime's assault on Homs a sign of worse to come. After 4 straight days of bombing and shelling, it's frankly hard to see how things could get worse.
By the way, you only see 2 explosions and smoke in every single video. It's the same one over and over again.
And the one video that shows the explosion, first they have the camera pointed at where the rocket comes from, and then they follow it right to the point as if it was staged.
Well, yes.
Did you notice the way that was shot?
Yeah. Oh, no. Dude, we've got so much to talk about.
Worse than this. Incoming artillery rocket fire in several...
That's not incoming, by the way.
The neighborhoods, especially Baba Amr, where this video was taken today. More than 5 dozen people killed. Reports that field hospitals and medical professionals are being targeted, along with the wounded. Now, the killing, the atrocities unfolding despite al-Assad's commitment, or stated commitment, to ending the violence. He made that promise to Russia's visiting foreign minister only yesterday. He's made that promise before, of course, and that promise has always been broken. By this morning, his sincerity could be measured in dead men, dead women, and dead children.
Which we have not seen any proof of.
The activist and opposition member known as Danny has been risking his life daily, bearing witness to all of this, posting videos on YouTube. He filed this dispatch just after today's shelling began. Now, before we show it to you, I want to warn you.
Graphic.
It's not especially graphic. It certainly is horrible. It's also the sad and simple...
Not graphic. It's just horrible. Listen to me, slave. It's horrible. You will think it's horrible.
Reality in Homs right now.
This is a field hospital. It's 7 o'clock a.m. This is a little child who's about 2 years old. He got hit with this water bomb in his house. Is this what the UN is waiting for? Is this what the UN is waiting for? Until we bring any more children left? Until they kill all the children, kill all the women? This child lost his brains. A bomb landed in his house. He lost his whole brains. 2 children were killed, him and his sister. What is the UN waiting for?
We've been trying all day with no success to reconnect with Danny. We thought we had him several times. Communications are extremely difficult. The streets are deadly. Just before airtime, we managed to get in touch with another activist named Abu Abdo, who had just witnessed a friend die.
So I got to say a couple things here. So for anyone in that region to say... Because I've seen more video of this guy, who, by the way, is getting the 2-book deal out of it, I hear. He's going to do great. And he's saying, yeah, we need the UN, we need the UN. Did you know that Barbara Walters sat down with Assad and had an interview with him, a 45-minute interview? Somehow we missed this. I don't understand.
But it wasn't recently.
It was December.
Was it? You sure?
Yeah, December.
I thought it was a couple years ago.
No, it's December.
Well, I did see it. I saw the interview.
And you want to hear what Assad thinks about the UN?
Yeah,
Last week, an independent United Nations commission who interviewed more than 225 people issued a report. What it said was that your government committed crimes against humanity. And they went on: torture, rape, and other forms of sexual violence against protesters, including against children. What do you say to them? I mean, what I'm saying again and again is that protesters were beaten. Things happened to them. Do you acknowledge that? Do you acknowledge what the UN said?
Very simply, I would say send us the documents and the concrete evidences that you have, and we'll see if that's true or not. You have a lot of allegations now.
Did the UN not send you these documents?
Nothing at all.
You mean the first you're here?
They don't have even the names.
And this is true. I've read the UN documents, and just like Libya, they have no one. In Libya, it was like, all these people getting raped, and they had one woman who later said, I don't want to talk anymore.
Yeah, let's not forget the Viagra bull crap.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are the rape people, or who are the torture people? Who are they? We don't have any name. They didn't.
But they've issued...
Sorry?
Mr. President, they have issued this report. They have accused you...
It must be true!
You and your regime.
According to what?
Well, according to what they said, 225 people, witnesses, men, women, children.
That is a lie, because they have no names and witnesses in the report. I've read the report.
Whom they interviewed and identified. And that's when they called it crimes against humanity.
We are government. We have government. We have institutions. They should send us the documents. As long as we don't see the documents and the evidences, we cannot say yes. That's normal. We cannot say just because the United Nations. Who said that the United Nations is a credible institution? First of all.
Who says that the United
Nations? We know that you have the double standard in the world, in the United States policy, in the United Nations that's controlled by the United States and the West. So it has no credibility. So it's about evidences and documents. Whenever they have, we can discuss it. Just to discuss a report that we don't see any reality related to it, just a waste of time.
You do not think that the United Nations is a credible organization?
No, for one reason. They haven't implemented, they never implemented any of the resolution that related to the Arab world, for example, to the Palestinians, to the Syrian land. Why don't they? If they talk about human rights, what about the Palestinians suffering in the occupied territory? What about my land and my people that left their land because it's occupied by Israel? Of course not.
You haven't.
For every citizen, it's not for me as president. I'm telling you about the perception in the whole region.
You do not think the United Nations is credible?
No, never. It's not something before my generation. It's something we inherited as a concept, as belief.
You have an ambassador to the United Nations.
Yeah, it's a game we play. It doesn't mean you believe it.
Yeah, it's a little game we play. So.
Well, which is a fact, and of course we just mentioned earlier in the show about the United Nations voting, 1 million to 2 to get the U.S. to stop their embargo in Cuba. And I said we just tell them to shove it.
So Assad, although I do believe what he's saying, this is terrorist acts taking place.
Well, and the expert from London says it's the Muslim Brotherhood trying to.
Do their job.
They're
doing their job. They're doing their job. They have to blow up the pipelines. However,
they're doing a good job.
So even though Assad is telling the truth here, he's a player. He's a player in the game, and he lets it slip in this clip.
So, what's the biggest misconception? Why is there this misconception? And you were saying the country is stable. We have some factions. What's the misconception?
First of all, who is the most of the world? Most of the West, you mean?
Not just the West, Turkey. Turkey, Jordan,
Turkey is not most of the
members, that's not the West, the members of the Arab League, they are saying to you, they are imposing sanctions. Some of them are telling you to step down. These are your neighbors.
There's agenda for those countries. It's a political game. It's not because they don't care about the killing, they don't care about democracy. most of these countries, they have agenda. I'm not going to talk about it now. I'm not going to talk about their agenda.
Yeah, not going to talk about the agenda because he's in on the game.
Yeah, obviously.
But again, this is not just about countries. And so this will relate back to your question about the British and the MI6. You can't see it just as the British and MI6. It's the corporations. BP has their own agenda. ExxonMobil has their own agenda. Shell has their own agenda. So whoever has the right people in the right place, this is corporate. The government.
Chevron and Unocal are also players, and also Gazprom, or whoever it is out of Russia.
So obviously.
Well, wait, before you go on with this, I want to throw another wrench into the works.
Okay.
So while there's a bunch of this propagandizing going around, especially on the news shows about this Syria action, and you see pictures of Hillary in the UN, who, by the way, she does not look good.
No.
All of a sudden, out of the blue comes Brzezinski. Your buddy,
my pal. Yeah. Just listen. Is that the cue?
Well,
here?
I mean, I didn't know what to make of these two clips that I picked. I mean, he always keeps going back to world governance, which again is code for we want to get in on this action too. It's the elites, because what you're describing is a huge multi-trillion-dollar money-making scheme.
Yes,
which would make sense that people would want to get in on it. But he's making assertions and other commentary that I think it just doesn't sound right. But in the meta view that you're giving us, it actually makes a little sense. And I don't know which one of these to play first, but play Lost It first.
Collectively address the problems that the world faces.
One of those is to I think in your term, expand the West to include places like Russia and Turkey.
Absolutely. I think that it's in the vital interests of the West to do so, and I think drawing in Turkey, drawing in Russia would greatly increase the vitality of the West. And after all, the Turks, in the course of the last 100 years, have demonstrated a determination to be modern, secular, and democratic. So they're really part of our value system. In Russia today, we see for the first time the emergence of something we can call a civic society.
Okay, so what's happening is and we're going to put names to these eventually. We will be able to figure it out. And by the way, he
is on that side of the equation.
Yes. Oh, yeah. No, we're going to be able to figure it out, because what he's saying is Russia, Turkey, Europe. That's the way it should go. And I'm just going to relate that to the pipelines, because there is the South Stream, there's the Blue Stream, there's all these pipelines that run through Turkey. So he wants Turkey, 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 Turkey. How many times has Hillary Clinton been to Turkey? She's been trying that too. But now,
and by the way, let me give you something on this meme he just said. He said that it's a modern, secular, democratic.
Yeah.
For the last 100 years, they have been fighting this. The public in Turkey are fighting this. And he says they share our value system. They are 100% Muslim society that would love to go Sharia. They don't share any. That's bull crap. Yeah, the elites do, but I was thinking when I first saw this, before I'm starting to think about this other thesis, was that this guy, has he not been to Turkey recently? Has he not been to the Istanbul airport? I mean, it's just short of having goats in it. I mean, it is. All the women are covered up. It is just very extreme. You'd think that you're in. Saudi Arabia.
There are a lot of places in Turkey where the burqas come off and the girls go crazy. I mean, there is some.
Well, actually, in Istanbul, the party section there is beyond compare. Yeah, I have to say, they know how to party in Turkey. I'm not saying that's not true.
They do,
but that can end at the drop of a hat with one new government. And I just don't see that what he's seeing.
Well, Turkey is obvious. Well, Turkey is obviously against the whole Israeli thing. In fact, Turkey,
it'd have to be.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying, "Hey, Cyprus, that's our territory. You can't have that." This is the whole history of Cyprus and Turkey. But again, and if you haven't seen it yet, please go to pipelines.curry.com. You'll see where all of this is headed, and the shortest route from all this wonderful resource replacing nuclear energy going right into Europe. Something very interesting happened, though, during a recent Spokeshole Carney press event. So he is delivering he gets asked a question by Jake. I like Jake because he's kind of compromised, but he always comes up with a great question. And And so he's saying, look, we don't really have any official reports on what's happening in Syria. So what is really, do you guys have anyone there? Do you really know what's happening in Syria? Which is kind of like a softball for Spokeshole Carney to lob it in and tell you how horrible and the crimes against humanity. And then something very funny happens. But first, the setup with Jake and the Spokeshole.
And just to follow up on the Syria question earlier from Nora, there have been reports that because of all that's going on, and I think it's Homs.
I think it's Homs. Really, dude? You think so?
There was a hospital that lost power and a number of premature babies died.
There we go. There's the premature babies again. Incubators. We're back. We got it.
As a result, I don't know if that's a true story or not. Obviously, in situations like this, there are a lot of rumors. Does the White House...
By the way, rumors in the general media have now been replaced by bloggers and YouTubers. This is the big trick in the media. So instead of saying we heard rumors, no, we have a blogger there or a YouTuber. This is very important for media assassination.
Know anything about the extent of the violence, factually what's going on?
Factually.
I assume we have people on the ground there to a degree or another. Are we monitoring exactly what is happening?
Well, I can say that we have all here seen the reporting and some of the horrific...
No, there's no reporting. We see YouTube videos.
Horrific video
There's no reporting. Absolutely.
No. Of the escalation of violence that's taking place in Syria over the last few days. And it's clearly resulted in the deaths of hundreds of civilians.
Clearly resulted in the deaths of hundreds of... Clearly.
And been accompanied by troubling statements from senior regime officials who have pledged, quote, to cleanse the country of renegades and outlaws.
Oh, cleanse! There you go. Nice little genocide meme. Throw it in there. Pour it on, Carney.
That is hardly reassuring and only reinforces the fact that the Assad regime is engaged in a brutal campaign to slaughter its own people.
He's Hitler. It's a fact. He's just engaged to slaughter like cattle.
A people that has this process began when the Syrian people peacefully demonstrated in support of reform and transition to democracy.
Bull crap.
So I don't have any details to impart to you on the kinds of information we might have with regards to what's happening in Syria beyond the news reports, but the news reports are bad enough.
Bullshit! The news reports are bad enough. Then something really funny happens. There's a Russian reporter. I don't know how he got in, but Carney is not loving this guy. And the Russian reporter is calling bullcrap on Carney from the beginning, and he winds up finally asking his question, which Carney just completely ignores. But it's I don't know, something wrong happened. Something went horribly wrong, and this guy snuck into the White House press corps. He's Alex from Russia Press.
That'll be the last time you'll see him, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, this guy, he's dead now already. I don't think the guy lives.
Believes they were the right decisions.
Andre, that's his name.
Back to Syria, please. Of course, the Russians and probably the Chinese too say that they are not supporting the Syrian regime. What they are supporting is the international legal regime, the international legal norms that exist in relations between states. They do not want anyone, including the United States, to pick a regime they don't like, incite rebellion against that regime, trying to... You understand what I'm talking about?
So it may be hard to hear. What he's saying is, the reason the Russians didn't want to join in on the veto is because they follow international law, which is like, don't meddle with another country. Of course, it's bullcrap, but don't meddle with another country's business. Just stay out. You know what I'm saying, Spokeshole Carney, right?
Basically, what you just presented to us was a rhetorical, political, even economic aggression against that regime. My question is very simple. What are the specific legal grounds on which you do this?
Very good question. What are the specific legal grounds on which you can go and place sanctions and try and threaten an entire country like Syria? What are the legal grounds?
You basically the absence of the resolution.
I would refer you to the United Nations, to our mission there, to the State Department.
No, the president is saying this, dude. You're supposed to say it.
What you saw and what you see today is a broad international consensus against the behavior of the Assad regime, the brutal killing of the Syrian people. We think that's wrong. And we agree with many of our partners and allies around the world and in the region when we say that. I think, again, the images that we've seen just this weekend
He's struggling now. He's like, oh, man, how'd this guy get in? Let me get back to the images.
Demonstrate that the kind of behavior being carried out by the Syrian forces under the control of the Assad regime is vile and unacceptable. So that is why we supported the United Nations Security Council resolution, and it's why we'll continue to work with our allies and partners to further isolate and pressure the Assad regime to allow the Syrian people the opportunity to choose their own future. That's the approach we take.
Okay, Andre's not done.
If I may, one additional question. I actually wanted to ask you to remind you that lynching is
He says lynching.
illegal in the United States. You need to have a court of law. But I will not ask about that. I will ask you about, can you tell me?
Andre, I feel like it might be 1982 and it's...
I don't know. Lynching is illegal. Many like-minded people form a posse, hunt somebody down.
Andre, do you have a question?
I have a question. The question is, can you assure me that we are not working inside Syria through your special forces, whatever it is, working militarily?
So he's saying, can you assure me that there are no special forces from the United States working inside Syria to stir up this crap and blow up the pipelines? Can you assure me that? That's the question.
Well, I'm sorry, what's the question? Are we...
Can you tell me that the United States is not taking any military steps to undermine?
I think we've made very clear that we are pursuing a political and diplomatic course with regards to Syria, and we will continue to do so.
Wow.
So he doesn't answer the question.
No, he did answer it by not answering. He couldn't say no.
Because that would be a big fat lie, because we're there. We're part of this. We have promised Israel to do this. We have promised.
That's why they voted for, that's why they made this idiotic vote when they have no concerns about Cuba to vote with us on that stupid resolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, Israel, we vote no.
And Iran, by the way, ships gas to Turkey as well.
Well, this is an interesting. Let's go back to Searle, not Searle, but Seeley, and the summary that you started to play, because this is kind of interesting because it's quite likely when this is over, I will explain, or you can figure it out. But it's quite likely that all this action about Iran has something to do with this.
Now, is this the Middle East security or what's really going on in Syria?
The Middle East security summary.
Yes,
because you played the other one. And because it's possible that we're kind of missing the point of Iran, too.
Oh, yeah. No, I think this
But listen to this. Listen to this theory this guy has.
Good.
Disputes going on in the opposition. Some say we must cooperate with the Muslim Brothers, others say no. Some say we must seek external intervention, others say no. Some say we need a dialogue. I believe dialogue is the only way out of this. And indeed, the Russians have suggested to both sides to come to Moscow and start a dialogue. But the opposition says, no, we can't dialogue with Bashar al-Assad. He must be toppled first. Well, that's a dangerous position to adopt. Now, Saudi Arabia is the Arab world's heavyweight. It is the great financial powerhouse. Now, it doesn't particularly like Iran. It sees Iran as a regional competitor. It's frightened of Shia power, the fact that Shias have come to power in Iraq as well. And so it would rather like to contain Iran. However, there are some Saudis, some senior Saudis, who understand that Saudi Arabia and Iran are really partners. They share a responsibility for the security of the Gulf region, and they should start a security dialogue. That's what they need to do, rather than being dragged in to this quarrel between the United States and Israel on the one hand, and Russia and China on the other.
Yes, the new energy order has made the Iranians and the Saudis natural allies. Now everyone is against Israel. because Israel's got the mother lode. And these guys are sitting like, wait a minute, we're here in the frickin' sand, and these guys are going to be sitting in the catbird seat. They're exporting everything. We got to, like, work together here.
And the way to keep that from happening is to keep saber rattling, claiming they got nukes, because it's been said in many, we've seen a couple of these security sessions on C-SPAN where they talk about, the real problem, even though we now assume, because all the security agencies claim or say, all of them, say that Iran's not working on any sort of nuke.
No.
But you want to make it seem so because it frightens Saudi Arabia, because if Iran actually got a nuke, every other country would have to get one because they're afraid these guys are nuts because of this Shiite thing. But the fact, as this guy expressed, is those two countries, that maybe this is just to keep them from ever getting together by scaring everybody with this bull crap.
Exactly.
Oh, Israel's going to bomb them. Oh, we're going to have to go in. Bomb, 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 bomb. And all of our candidates, except for Ron Paul, who seems to be the only one that would just love to just back out of this deal.
Yeah.
He's the only one that's honest about. These other guys are just full of it.
Well, they got back end deals, dude. Do you know? I mean, if you look,
what am I thinking? Hello,
hello. No,
Ron Paul 76. He's set for life. He doesn't care.
Noble Energy is the one to look out for. By the way, in Iran, we've had all kinds of things happening, little terrorist attacks, little explosions. I'm reading from a report August 12th last year. An explosion Friday at a gas pipeline that runs from Iran to Turkey has disrupted gas exports. The explosion occurred early in the morning as part of the pipeline that is Turkish territory near the border with Iran. This is happening on a increasing level. And we can apply I'm thinking now, John, seriously. Yes, Europe is in trouble. Absolutely. But when you put together, and by the way, this is what tipped me off with one of our buddies. He sent me a note and said, I can't believe it, but Standard & Poor's is thinking of upgrading Greece. This is a rumor that's out there. They're thinking, and this was on Bloomberg, that they want to upgrade Greece. But when you understand that the CEO and president of if it isn't already 100% privatized, the soon-to-be completely privatized DEPA, the Greek energy company, which will handle all of this gas, which they'll ship off to Europe, used to work at Standard & Poor's. The whole thing is an inside game. And who was it that actually screwed up Greece? Goldman Sachs. So Goldman Sachs puts in a Goldman guy. He's right at the head. The minute this guy's in, all of a sudden Greece and Israel, they're visiting each other. We're hanging out. Yeah, we're having discussions. Italy, Goldman guy. Why? Because it has to go from Greece to Italy to Europe. These are warring corporations. Corporations, I tell you. Not countries, corporations. It's crazy. We just have to figure out which ones so we can invest in them and ride the gravy train.
I've been looking up this stuff.
Yes.
I'm looking at this. Well, Noble's already got it.
It's $100 already. You can't.
Yeah,
you can't
it was
get
down to like 50, and now it's 100.
You can't get in.
Although you
those
never
guys.
know. I mean, it's hard. Yeah, there's probably 2 or 3 of these players that you can sneak in on. Well, there's investment opportunities. That's what the show's about.
So anyway, this is what I've been spending my week on, and the more I look at it, and the more it's just like, this makes sense. The whole Arab Spring, it was about stopping the gas to do, because you can't have gas coming in from everywhere. Then the gas becomes so cheap that you can't make any money on it. Syria, by the way, is not.
And by the way, also this explains why we've done nothing about Bahrain, Qatar, any of these other countries with the Arab Spring,
no
real
gas.
Arab Spring action.
No gas, no interest, no gas, no care. NGNC. That's your hashtag. No gas, no care. You got no gas? I don't give a crap about you. You're not important. But think about, and this is my crackpottery, think about Fukushima. All of this happened after this discovery. Hey, man, what are we going to do about these nuclear plants? Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we make it really scary and really dangerous, and that'll be more demand for gas. Japan can't get enough gas. India. Israel is already putting deals together to ship their gas to India. India's freaking out. They need gas. Who's going to send it? Israel. They're doing deals right now. I've got it's all in the show notes, 381.nashownotes.com.
You think with the food they eat, they'd have all the gas you'd ever need.
Hold on. Ooh, Whoa! Simultaneous dingage. So, but I just look at the Arab Spring. I'm like, it makes so much sense, John.
Yeah, no, this is good. I think this analysis, we should just keep this as our basis for watching this action going on in Syria and elsewhere.
And we've got to be able to put the corporate names to the shills. So Hillary Clinton, we know she's in with Noble, and even Bill Clinton came out and started yapping about that. So we know that the Clintons really work for the Bushes, and this is a Houston firm, so really simple. But also the Far East Energy Corporation, which is owned by the Chiners. They're also involved. And I think they're in the Clinton-Bush camp. I'll just say, Clinton, Bush, Obama, because it's not Obama, it's whoever's running the show with him. Because he immediately, the first company to get offshore drilling in the Gulf, Noble Energy. Never heard of them. Guess where they have connections? You're going to love it. Switzerland. Zook, Switzerland, Glencore, Mark Rich, Clinton. Connect all those dots. And I think if we just keep this in mind, you and I, because we'd kind of gotten away from it because we had overlooked the gas thing. It's like gas and whatever. I had no idea. And we had actually discussed this Leviathan field, but we never thought about the implications. Now going back, and I actually did a lot of the search on my, I have one of those Yacey search engines, so it filters out all the bull crap from Google, and it just gives you kind of sparse results. Man, I found so many amazing articles about how huge problems have been predicted between Lebanon and Iran and Israel because of this gas and the maritime borders and who really owns it. And again, that's why you get the laws of the sea. That's what Hillary Clinton has been spearheading herself. Well, this is who really owns it, and this belongs to them, and then Cyprus, and but it's corporations, because you have Russians who want to ship the gas through the Arab pipeline, and you have Russians who are in Cyprus and want to get it from Israel. And it could be the same guys, for all I know. That's just a hedge. They don't give a crap. And they don't give a crap about people.
Well, they just don't want anybody else getting it. That's the problem.
Of course. And this totally, now for once, I can say, yeah, Israel is really important for douchebags.
Dvorak.org/NA